In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, silence has become rare. People compete to speak louder, argue harder, and prove themselves constantly. Social media, debates, conversations, and even friendships often feel like competitions for attention. But the most powerful individuals in history understood something different. True power does not always come from speaking. Sometimes it comes from knowing when not to speak at all. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness. Many people assume that the quiet person in the room lacks confidence or intelligence, but very often the opposite is true. The quiet person may be the one observing everything. While others are busy talking, they are watching, listening, analyzing. They notice small details that most people completely miss. This is why some of the most influential thinkers in history valued silence. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius believed that controlling your reactions was one of the highest forms of strength. The strategist Sun Tzu believed that observation was the foundation of victory. And philosophers throughout history understood that people often reveal more about themselves when they talk too much. Silence creates space. Space for observation, space for understanding, space for control. And in many situations, silence becomes the most powerful psychological weapon a person can possess. In this video, we will explore why silence makes people uncomfortable, why intelligent individuals often speak less, and how mastering silence can change the way people see and treat you. Once you understand the psychology behind silence, you may begin to see conversations very differently. Because sometimes the person who says the least is the one who understands the most. Why silence makes people uncomfortable? Human beings are not naturally comfortable with silence. When conversations suddenly become quiet, most people feel an urge to fill the empty space. This happens almost automatically. Someone stops speaking, a pause appears, and within seconds, another person starts talking. They begin explaining themselves. They start repeating things. Sometimes they even reveal more information than they originally intended. Why does this happen? Because silence creates uncertainty. When someone continues speaking, we understand their thoughts. We know what they feel and what they mean. But silence removes that clarity. When a person becomes quiet, we begin wondering what they are thinking. Are they judging us? Did we say something wrong? Do they disagree? The human brain dislikes unanswered questions. And because of this discomfort, people often start speaking more in order to reduce the tension. This is one of the reasons skilled negotiators often use silence as a technique. They ask a question and then remain quiet. The other person feels pressure to fill the silence, and in many cases, they reveal valuable information without realizing it. Silence shifts psychological pressure. Instead of you feeling the need to speak, the other person begins feeling responsible for continuing the conversation. And in that moment, control quietly moves in your direction. The observer has the advantage. There is a simple rule in communication. The person who talks the most usually reveals the most, and the person who reveals the most loses control of information. Information is power. When you constantly explain yourself, describe your plans, or share your emotions, people learn exactly how you think. They begin predicting your reactions. They understand your weaknesses. But when you remain more reserved, something different happens. you gain the ability to observe. Observation is one of the most underestimated forms of intelligence. While others are focused on speaking, you are focused on understanding. You notice tone. You notice hesitation. You notice body language. A small change in someone's voice can reveal doubt. A short pause before answering a question can reveal uncertainty. These details are invisible to people who talk too much, but they become obvious to someone who listens carefully. Great strategists throughout history relied heavily on observation. Sun Tzu believed that knowing your opponent was essential for victory, and understanding people requires patience. Silence creates that patience. It gives you the space to gather information before reacting. And the more information you gather, the stronger your position becomes. Silence creates mystery. One of the most powerful psychological effects of silence is mystery. When someone constantly shares everything about themselves, their personality quickly becomes predictable. People know what they think. They know what they believe. They know how they will react. But when someone speaks less and reveals little, their mind becomes difficult to read. And the human brain is naturally curious about what it cannot understand. People begin wondering what that person is thinking. They start observing them more closely. They analyze small details. In many situations, they even start projecting their own assumptions onto the silent individual. This is why quiet people are often perceived as more intelligent, more confident, or even more powerful than they actually are. Their silence creates space for imagination, and imagination tends to exaggerate. The unknown often feels more significant than the obvious. This principle appears in many areas of life, in leadership, in negotiation, even in social relationships. People are naturally drawn to mystery, and silence is one of the simplest ways to create it. Silence shows emotional strength. One of the clearest signs of emotional control is the ability to remain calm when others expect a reaction. Imagine someone criticizes you, or insults you, or tries to provoke an argument. Most people react instantly. They defend themselves. They try to prove the other person wrong. They raise their voice. But emotional reactions reveal something important. They reveal what affects you. They show others exactly which words trigger your emotions. Once someone understands your triggers, they gain influence over you. Silence removes that advantage. When someone tries to provoke you and receives no reaction, the situation changes. Instead of controlling your emotions, they suddenly face uncertainty. They may begin wondering whether their words had any effect. They may even start questioning their own behavior. Silence disrupts the pattern of conflict. It removes the reward that emotional provocation usually creates. And sometimes the absence of reaction becomes more powerful than any argument. True emotional strength is not about suppressing feelings. It is about choosing how and when to respond. And sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Silence increases the value of your words. Words lose value when they are used too often. When someone speaks constantly, people eventually stop paying attention. Their voice becomes background noise. But when someone speaks rarely, their words begin to carry weight. Imagine a meeting where several people are talking endlessly. Everyone is trying to present their ideas. Everyone is trying to be heard. But one person remains mostly silent.
They listen carefully. They observe the discussion, and then, after several minutes, they finally speak. Something interesting happens. The room becomes quiet. People listen. Why? Because silence created anticipation. When someone rarely speaks, their words appear more thoughtful, more deliberate, more meaningful. Silence gives your voice authority, not through dominance, but through contrast. Your words stand out because they are rare, and rarity naturally attracts attention.
Silence protects your energy. Not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every criticism deserves your attention. Many people spend enormous amounts of time arguing, defending themselves, or explaining their choices. But wise individuals understand something important. Energy is limited. Every conversation, every argument, and every emotional reaction consumes mental energy. When you respond to every comment or criticism, you allow other people to control how you spend that energy. They decide what you think about. They decide what you argue about. They decide how much attention you give them. Silence breaks this pattern. Silence refuses to participate in unnecessary conflict. Instead of reacting to every opinion, you simply allow it to exist without engaging. This protects your focus, it protects your peace of mind, and it protects your time. Time is the most valuable resource any person has. Once it is spent, it cannot be recovered. People who understand the value of time learn to choose their responses carefully, and often they allow silence to handle situations that words would only complicate. Silence has been used as a strategy for centuries. Negotiators use silence to encourage others to speak more. Leaders use silence to observe the true opinions of the people around them. Even investigators use silence as a psychological tool. The reason is simple. When a question is followed by silence, the other person feels pressure to respond. They begin explaining. They add more details. Sometimes they reveal things that were never asked. Silence encourages honesty because people feel uncomfortable leaving questions unanswered. In many cases, silence becomes more powerful than persuasion. Instead of convincing someone with words, you simply create space for them to reveal the truth themselves. This technique works because human beings naturally want to resolve tension. Silence creates that tension, and people instinctively try to remove it by speaking. Silence is not empty. It is full of information. It allows you to observe before reacting, to understand before speaking, to control your emotions instead of letting them control you. In a world where everyone competes for attention, silence has become unusual, and unusual things often appear powerful. The next time you feel the urge to respond instantly, pause. Let the silence exist for a moment. Watch how people react. You may notice them revealing more about themselves. You may notice conversations changing direction, and you may begin to understand something that many people overlook. Silence is not the absence of communication. Silence is a different form of communication, and those who learn to master it often gain something rare: clarity, control, and quiet power.